This is a story from a very long time ago. It is about a man named Lot and his family who lived in a very wicked and sinful city. The city was called Sodom, and it was famous for its evil. The people there did not follow God's laws and were very cruel to each other. God saw the great wickedness of Sodom and its neighboring city, Gomorrah. He decided that the time for judgment on these evil places had finally arrived. Before destroying the cities, God sent two of his angels to investigate. They appeared as ordinary men, arriving at the gates of the city of Sodom. Lot was sitting at the city gate when the two angels arrived. He was a righteous man and immediately recognized that they were special visitors needing protection. He invited them into his home, offering them food, water, and a safe place to rest for the night, away from the dangers of the city. The angels at first declined his offer, but Lot insisted very strongly. He knew how dangerous the men of the city could be to any strangers. So the angels went into Lot's house, and he prepared a meal for them. They ate together as evening fell over the very wicked city of Sodom. Before they could go to sleep for the night, a great commotion started. The men of Sodom surrounded Lot's house, making a lot of noise. Every man from every part of the city was there. They were young and old, and all of them had evil intentions in their hearts for them. They shouted at Lot, demanding that he bring out his two visitors. They wanted to do terrible and violent things to the two guests who were there. Lot went outside to plead with the angry mob. He begged them not to act so wickedly and to leave his guests alone in his house. In his desperation to protect the visitors, Lot even offered his own two daughters to the mob, but they angrily refused his desperate, terrible offer. The evil men grew even angrier with Lot. They accused him of being a foreigner who was trying to judge them and their sinful actions. They surged forward, intending to break down Lot's door. They wanted to harm Lot and then capture the two visitors who were staying inside. But the two angels inside acted quickly to save Lot. They reached out, pulled him back into the house, and immediately shut the door securely. Then the angels used their divine power. They struck all the men outside the house with a sudden and very confusing blindness, stopping their attack. The blinded men grew tired trying to find the door. They stumbled around in the darkness, unable to carry out their evil and violent plan. Inside the house, the angels revealed their true purpose to Lot. They told him they were there to destroy the entire city because of its sin. They gave Lot a very urgent warning. They told him to gather his entire family and anyone connected to him and get them out of Sodom. "Flee from this place," the angel said with great urgency. "The Lord is about to destroy this city completely because of its great and terrible wickedness." Lot hurried to speak with his sons-in-law, who were engaged to his daughters. He warned them to leave, but they thought he was joking around. They laughed at his warning of destruction from the heavens above. They did not believe that their city was truly going to be destroyed by God. As the dawn began to break, the angels became even more urgent. They told Lot, "Hurry, take your wife and your two daughters and leave now." They warned him that if he delayed any longer, he and his family would be swept away in the city's terrible and final punishment from God. But even then, Lot hesitated. He seemed reluctant to leave his home and his life behind, even with the warning of the impending certain doom. The angels saw his hesitation and took matters into their own hands. The Lord was being merciful to Lot and his small, frightened family. The angels grasped the hands of Lot, his wife, and his two daughters. They physically led them out of the house and outside the city walls. Once they were safely outside the doomed city, one of the angels gave them a final, very specific, and very important command they had to obey. "Flee for your lives," the angel commanded them. "Don't look behind you and don't stop anywhere on the plain. Flee to the mountains now." The angel added a grim warning to his direct command. "If you stop or look back at the city, you will be destroyed along with it." Lot and his family began to run away from Sodom. They were running for their very lives, trying to escape the judgment that was coming. The sun had risen over the land as they fled. It was a beautiful morning, but it was the last morning that Sodom would ever see. Then, the Lord rained down burning sulfur and fire from the heavens. It fell upon Sodom and the neighboring city of Gomorrah with great force. The destruction was total and absolute. God overthrew those cities and the entire plain, destroying all the vegetation and everyone who lived in the cities. The sound of the destruction must have been terrifying. There were loud explosions and the roar of fire as the cities were completely wiped from existence. Lot and his daughters obeyed the command. They kept their eyes fixed forward, running toward the mountains, away from the smoke and the great fire. But Lot's wife could not resist the temptation. Her heart was full of doubt, curiosity, or perhaps a deep sense of longing for her home. She was leaving everything she had ever known behind her. Her house, her friends, and all of her possessions were being destroyed in the fire. Her past life was in that city. It was a wicked place, but it was the only home that she had known for a very long time. This connection to her old life was too strong for her to break. Her heart was still attached to the world that God was judging. The command was simple: do not look back. It was a test of faith and obedience to God's word and his specific life-saving instruction. Looking back was a sign that she did not fully trust God's plan. It showed that she valued her old sinful life more than her future. Her action was one of direct disobedience. She chose to ignore the angel's clear warning, a warning that was meant to save her own life. So as the family ran, Lot's wife slowed down. She paused for just a moment, her mind filled with all the things she had lost. Then she made her fateful choice. She turned her head against the command. She looked back at the burning city of Sodom from where she ran. In that very instant, God's judgment fell upon her as well. As soon as she looked back, her body underwent a very strange transformation. She became a pillar of salt. She was frozen in place, a silent statue standing on the plain, facing the destruction she chose to see. Her transformation was immediate and final. She was stopped in her tracks, forever a monument to the consequences of her own specific, direct disobedience. Lot and his daughters did not look back. They continued their escape, unaware for a moment of the terrible fate that had befallen their wife and mother. Why a pillar of salt? The area around the Dead Sea, near where Sodom was located, is very rich in salt deposits and other minerals. The judgment was fitting for the location. The fire and brimstone from the sky may have caused a chemical reaction, encasing her in salty minerals. But the reason is also deeply symbolic. Salt can be a preservative, but in this case, it preserved her in her final act of sin. She was preserved forever as an example of someone who longed for a sinful world. Her body became a permanent warning sign for all others. Salt is also a symbol of barrenness and desolation. A field sown with salt will not grow crops. Her fate represented a dead end. Her choice led not to life in the mountains, but to a sterile, lifeless existence as a statue of salt on a desolate and empty plain. She hesitated between two worlds. She was physically leaving the world of sin, but her heart was still there, longing for what she left behind. This internal conflict, this spiritual hesitation, is what ultimately sealed her fate. She could not fully commit to the path of salvation God offered her. Her story teaches about the danger of half-hearted obedience. Following God requires a complete turning away from the past sins and trusting His future plans. You cannot escape judgment if you are still looking back longingly at the sin you are supposed to be fleeing from in the first place. She was given the same chance as Lot and her daughters. They all heard the same clear warning and the same simple, direct command from God. The path to safety was clearly laid out for her. All that she needed to do was keep moving forward and not look behind her. Her story is not just about curiosity. It is about a deeper issue of the heart and where a person places their ultimate trust and affection. Her affections were still with Sodom. She valued her material possessions and her old life more than she valued the promise of a new life. A fire that destroyed the city was a purifying fire. It was removing a cancer of wickedness from the face of the entire world. By looking back, Lot's wife showed she was still a part of that wickedness. Her spirit was not willing to leave the city completely. Her body had left Sodom, but her mind and her heart had not. And so, she shared in the city's final and devastating judgment. Her fate serves as a powerful reminder. When you choose to follow a new path with God, you must leave the old life behind entirely. There can be no lingering attachments to the sin that God has called you to abandon. It is a decision that requires full commitment. The pillar of salt stood for a long time. It was a landmark that people could see, a physical reminder of what happens when you disobey. Later generations would have seen that strange statue. They would have been told the story of Lot's wife and the lesson that it taught. It taught that God is merciful and provides a way of escape from judgment. But that escape requires listening to Him and obeying His commands. The story shows that salvation is a serious matter. It is not something to be taken lightly or to be treated with half-heartedness. Lot himself was not perfect. He had hesitated to leave the city. But in the end, he obeyed the angels and did not look back. His daughters also obeyed the command. They trusted the warning they were given and fled without turning to see the destruction behind them. Only Lot's wife failed the test of obedience. Her one act of looking back erased the mercy that had been shown to her by God. It was a simple action with a permanent consequence. One look back was enough to show where her heart truly was, and judgment followed swiftly. Her story is a tragedy. She was so close to safety, just steps away from a new life, but she threw it all away. She threw it away for one last look at a world that was already doomed and passing away in a storm of fire and sulfur. This shows the seductive power of our past. It can be hard to let go of what is familiar, even if it is harmful to us. Her desire for her old home and her old ways was stronger than her desire for the future God was promising her in a new place. Her story is a contrast to that of Abraham, Lot's uncle. Abraham left his home when God called him, never looking back at all. Abraham trusted God completely, and he was blessed for his faith. Lot's wife did not trust, and she was judged for her lack of faith. The command not to look back was symbolic. It meant, do not regret leaving this sinful life. Do not wish you were still there. Her backwards glance was an act of regret. She was essentially saying that she wished she could go back to her life in the city. This showed she did not truly believe that God's judgment on Sodom was right. Or, she did not believe that God's future was better. Her story is remembered as a warning against indecision. In moments of judgment, you must choose a side and commit to it fully and completely. She tried to have both worlds. She wanted to escape the punishment, but also hold on to the memory of the life that cost it. But God demands a clear choice. No one can serve two masters, and no one can flee sin while still loving it in their heart. Her punishment was not just for the physical act of turning her head. It was for the spiritual condition of her heart that it revealed. Her heart was salty, barren, and disobedient to God's command. So her body became a perfect reflection of what was inside her spirit. The cities of Sodom and Gomorrah were gone. All that remained was smoke, devastation, and a lone, silent pillar of salt on the plain. Lot and his 2 daughters made it to the mountains. They were saved, but they had lost everything, including their wife and their mother. The family was broken because one member could not let go of the past. Her disobedience brought sadness and loss to those who survived it. The lesson of Lot's wife is timeless. It applies to anyone who is trying to leave a life of sin behind for a new life. Do not look back with longing at your past mistakes. Instead, look forward to the future and the new beginning that has been offered. Focus on the destination you are heading toward, not the place of destruction that you are leaving behind you on your journey of faith. True repentance means turning away from sin and not looking back. It is a complete change of direction in both body and in spirit. Lot's wife managed to change her physical direction, but she never changed the direction of her heart. And that was her ultimate fatal downfall. And that is why Lot's wife was turned into a pillar of salt. It was a permanent monument to the danger of a divided heart.